where local musicians and artists are unrated, underappreciated, unnoticed, battered, abused, and swept under the rug.
Living show to show without secure benefits like medieval jesters.
Run with the kittens.
You're actually listening to it right now. I played a song for my hamster that just died.
Class.
I lied.
Underplayed and Underpaid.
Real local music.
Use what you have.
All the canned rock stuff. And the canned rock stuff, too.
Chuck went around.
We won't get into that.
That's a good thing.
Mondays at 6 p.m.
What was special to me, really cool, amazing, incredible. Like, I need to rise up to this level.
Phenomenal.
Definitely incredible.
Probably the coolest.
Strong. You're a people-aholic.
Oh.
Why are you killing me?
I'll try not to swear.
CFRU 93.3.
Wow, the food was
Delicious.
had a smorgasbord of awesomeness.
It's not your regular breakfast sausage.
I also ate some cocktail wieners and drank some melon liqueur one morning very early on the tour bus.
Welcome to an installment of Underplayed and Underpaid. Got a big show for you today. And sorry, the BBC just didn't seem to be working. So, yeah, I'm just going to dive right into the show. We got a big show for you. It's a trifecta. We got two ticket giveaways to two different shows. So the first one is Courage My Love this Wednesday. And you know what? I'll just give you the number now. And the first person to call in gets 2 tickets to this Wednesday's Courage My Love show. It's 519-837-2378. You can call in anytime. I'm going to dive right into the interview that I got on Saturday night with the Stanfields, Jon Landry. What a fun time. I really enjoy interviewing those blokes. But this time, I could only get Jon Landry himself. So, yeah, welcome to Underplayed and Underpaid on CFRU, where we see through the bullspit and bring you the real local Canadian music. All right, my little babies, the phone lines are open, 519-837-2378 for your chance to take home tickets. We'll give them to you at the door, actually, for Wednesday's Courage My Love. It's 519-837-2378. Call right in. And, yeah, the new album that the Stanfields are dropping is called For King and Country. If we have enough time at the end of the show, we'll be able to play a couple cuts. So, yeah, stay tuned. And here's a wonderful interview. Enjoy. He's got so much cool things to say. And, yeah, talk to you later.
My mom really liked the segment last time.
Oh, she got to hear it.
She listened to it. She had a lot of good opinions and stuff going on.
You're listening to Brian McNeil, and I'm doing an interview with the Stanfields, Jon Landry of the Stanfields, and you're listening to Underplayed and Underpaid. So I want to say thanks again for doing a third interview with
always a pleasure
with Underplayed and Underpaid, and yeah, thanks again for coming to our town on a weekend. That's kind of nice. Yeah, so Stanfields number 3. The last interview, if you want to reference it, was July 1st, 2013. That's the second interview we did. We're probably gonna, be talking around a lot of stuff that we already talked about in the previous interview. So, what have the Stanfields been up to since the last interview, 6 months ago or so?
Oh boy, mostly a lot of consolidation. Actually, I shouldn't say that. We were on a 3-week tour of Europe, of Germany, UK, and Iceland. Pretty interesting. We did this real haphazard tour of Europe. We landed in Iceland for a night and went into Reykjavik and played in a hostel there. It was pretty fun. It was an acoustic show, and it was a good time. We sampled the nightlife, we'll say. Leave that part at that. But very expensive town.
Is it?
It reminds me a lot of Newfoundland. St. John's, Newfoundland, if you've ever been there, or if anybody of your listeners have been there, it's like the surface of the moon with a little bit of lichen, and $14 beers and stuff like this. It's just crazy. The exchange rate kind of messes me up because it's like 1,000 kroner, and you're trying to figure that out in your head, and it's, somewhat stressful, but you get used to it. Beautiful country. Oddly enough, we got there in the midst of, we're bookended by 2 major events in Iceland history. One being the whole bank fiasco when they marched through the streets. We missed all that, so it was a peaceful, serene kind of city. And now Iceland is a game or 2 away from qualifying for the World Cup. So that's like big news over there, and I'm a big footy fan. So I would have been it would have been cool to be there for that. But
thanks for not calling us soccer.
Oh yeah, I've graduated in my love of the game to not have to call it soccer anymore. I'm okay. I can call it footy now.
I just showed my girlfriend Green Street Hooligans. Oh, good movie, eh?
Excellent movie. awesome movie, man. I recommend that one. Elijah Wood's best movie. That's the one with Elijah Wood, right? Yeah. His best movie ever. I just happened to come across it. I was like, this movie is killer.
Yeah. And you guys won 2 more East Coast Music Awards. How many does that make now?
Well, the 2 awards we got were Nova Scotia Music Awards. Each province has their own awards cycle, and then they all come together for the East Coast one. So I think, you know what, honestly, I'm not really sure how many we got. You know, there's a handful anyway. You know, we're very fortunate that way that we have support of fan base and industry alike. So I'll never look that gift horse in the mouth for sure. But it's nice when people are, you know, recognize you for the hard work that you do, and you know, you can't sneeze at that.
So you are on is this your 10th time crossing the country?
Oh my God!
I think last time you said it was your 9th.
So I guess I suppose then I've committed to the 10th. Then, you know, I've you know, it's become almost one blur. You know, like it feels like yesterday we were sitting here speaking last time, but it was, you know, nigh on 5-6 months ago. You know,
and well, you guys are, and there's you. For King and Country is the new album. Mm-hmm. Is there a concept to it?
A concept? You know what? Our songwriting doesn't really, you know, the themes that we concentrate on lyrically, as you hear Dirty Strong from the back.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't veer very far from the political and the social. You know, so you know, these themes are very.
Should I ask you to turn it down a bit?
If you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll do it.
The song sucks. That was hilarious. Yeah. Did she do that on purpose?
I don't know. I don't even think she knew that it was you.
Probably not.
So yeah, we're talking about For King and Country, the new album, yes. And how does it differ from your previous albums, apart from the acoustic thing?
Apart from the instrumentation and the sonics, you know, I really don't think it veers too far off the path. You know, like our songwriting is very well steeped in political and social themes, commentary, whatever you want to say. So in that sense, you know, it's very much the same, especially where, you know, our rock and roll records, we write. Songs are written on acoustic instruments anyway. I mean, that's basically how the band started. Mm-hmm. Was a bunch of dummies sitting in my apartment, you know, drinking rum and having a good time and just picking on acoustics and, you know, spending time together. So in some ways we've kind of come full circle for ourselves, you know. Like we skipped our electro dance beat phase, you know, but
that'd be interesting.
Well, it would be awful, you know. I'm sure it would be awful, but you know, in terms of, you know, the corner of the music pantheon that we live in, it's you know, I think we come full circle, and it's been really fun. Like I have no other words for it, but just very refreshing for us as a band to, you know, challenge ourselves a little bit more on a different level and dig into some of the influences that we've carried with us throughout our short career, you know.
So, well, now that you've come full circle, what direction are you guys going to move in your next album? More of the same?
We're gearing up for a new recording this winter. You know, we'd like to do something every year. That's ideal. You know, inspiration, reality, kind of, you know, part ways, you know, when the push comes to shove. But you know, we're aiming to go back in the studio for another full-blown rock record within the next 6 months.
Nice.
So, I mean, lots of material, lots of ideas. And, you know, a band like ours, you know, we have home lives and things like this, that, you know, children and marriages, and, you know, it's very important for guys like us to have something to focus on at all times, or it could fall off the rails pretty quick, you know.
Yeah.
So we got to keep ourselves busy, otherwise we start it tempts you to look back on the good and the bad and start weighing things out and start overanalyzing things, and that's dangerous for a band, you know, especially for us, you know, where it's a hand-to-mouth existence for the most part. And so for us to just keep forging on is job one in many ways.
Where can listeners find your material other than coming to your shows, obviously?
I think you can pick up our records at HMV. You know, you can pick up FCAC, For King Country, at the HMV. anywhere in Canada. Mostly an online thing. I mean, retail is dying. It's a dying way. You know, it's hard to get physical copies in front of hands and faces anymore. Like, you know, there has to be new and creative kind of ways to do it. So again, though, you know, it's our live show that's our subsistence. So I would highly recommend coming to a show. Always,
I would too.
Always.
The Bloody Dotted Line, which is the single that's available at stanfields.ca, and it's a link to your SoundCloud, I believe. What's it about, and is it really indicative of the rest of the album?
I think the song itself, I'll start there. The song itself is, I became aware of this, I don't know if you call it a concept, but a reality once upon a time in, we'll say, the 19th century, 18th century. It's called a debtor's prison. And basically, my understanding was that if you had a debt that you couldn't pay, say I borrowed money from you, and I borrowed 1,000 gold sterling from you, and I couldn't pay it back for whatever reason, I would have to make my amends with prison time. So they called it a debtor's prison. And, you know, somewhere along the line that was abolished, or that was, you know, taken out of our wholly fair justice system. Anyway, but it was always something that's kind of stuck in the back of my mind. I'm like, well, you know, if you look at today's day and age, and it's like, you know, our economy is basically run off the concept of good debt and bad debt, and, you know, this sort of thing. So I thought, well, you know, because our economy's contracting, and the people who are holding the chits, whoever they would be, I'm veering dangerously close to
the 99%, yeah,
conspiracy theory and whatnot as well, maybe. But, you know, somebody's holding these chits, right? And it's like, well, what if it were to be that these chits were called? You know, and it's like, I know personally, like, you know, the vast majority of us carry debts that we couldn't pay off tomorrow to live a lifestyle that we can't pay for, that somebody actually is paying for, maybe on the other end, vis-a-vis the third world, or, you know. So I kind of started there, and then, you know, constantly, you know, we're educated to, we're told in school to follow your dreams, and you know, like I'm doing, you know, I'm following my dream, and don't worry about the cost. Don't worry about you can be anything that you want to be. But, you know, for somebody to be a doctor puts them in crippling debt. Or, you know, somebody to come through school is to carry a load on their back that they can't. You know, as it stands right now, we have a strong enough economy that, you know, if somebody defaults on a debt, it can be wiped off. It can be wiped away. Like, and it's just like no big deal. It's just part of doing business. You know, I had this kind of fantasy in my head. It's like, well, what if there was a day in the future where you couldn't just have your debts wiped away, or, you know, you can't declare bankruptcy? So I thought, you know, wouldn't it be horrifically interesting for, you know, the concept of a debtor's prison to come back? You know, so the song itself, while it's, you know, it's off an old idea, it could very well be, in my mind at least, something that may come around and bite us in the ass again.
And people do go to jail sometimes for tax evasion.
Tax evasion, yes, of course. I mean, that's willful stuff, but I mean, you know, there's a line in the songs, is it a crime to live if you can't afford the means? And that's sort of the angle I was trying to take, is, you know, I'm just trying to have what everybody else has, and I'm just trying to have what they say that is my right to have. But if I can't afford it, maybe I'll pay a consequence somewhere down the road directly, you know, rather than just, you know, some kind of ambiguous number on a chart that you see on a ticker, you know, in the news. But basically, that's the song is about. And then, you know, it turns into, I remember, you know, it turns into an old Irish prison song. You know, these prison walls own my soul. And, you know, I remember when they kicked down my door just for trying to follow my dream. You know, and they kicked down my front door and whisked me off into the night and threw me in this cell. You know, so that's where it kind of turns into the whole Fields of Athenry kind of thing, or, you know, so. You know, we don't veer too far from, you know, tradition in that sense, but that's basically, you know, the bloody dotted line. You sign, you know, how many things have you signed that you don't even know the nuances behind it, you know? Like, you know, if you get a bank loan and you miss a month's payment or something, and all of a sudden it's sent off to a collection agency, and you've got a third party calling you and going, you owe me $5,000. And it's like, well, how? You know, like, how do I owe you $5,000? I didn't even know you were part of this deal, but it's that fine print from signing the bloody dotted line that's where they get you.
True indeed. I've gone through it myself with debt to like a phone company, and they sell the debt to somebody else. And legally, in that particular sense, they don't have the legal right to affect your credit, but they can still harass you and call you and bug you. I learned the hard way.
Yeah. I'm sure the vast majority of us have. It's not. I'm not sitting here trying to say don't be responsible to your debts. Like, do whatever you can. Like, pay the piper when you do it. But I mean, life happens. Like somebody with medical bills or something. Like shit happens, and it's like there's no flexibility there. There's no, maybe that's something that's going to change. But I just, again, it's just it's my opinion, or it's not even an opinion. It's more fantasy, really. But it's just, trying to relate on one level to, Irish traditional music or something, and another level trying to say something about where we are and where we're going, and hopefully not go there. That's the crux of it.
Another single that's available at thestanfields.ca is A Free Country. Yeah. There's a nice write-up that you did about what's going on in Rexton, New Brunswick, which we'll reference again shortly, which is a free download. Yeah. A Free Country is a free download, which totally makes sense, right?
There was an angle there. You can buy the T-shirt too. Free Country. That was a frightening kind of one to write and record and put out there. I remember we first started playing it live in kind of our acoustic setup, and I wrote the song, and it was a very sarcastic song, and I can't stress that enough. It's written like Born in the USA, but 100 times worse. Of course, it was supposed to be this kind of sarcastic sort of measuring up of our country in a sense. We pride ourselves on being a free and open society, but there's still an undercurrent of if you want to be one of us, you have to be one of us. You can't be yourself. To live in this country is to have every choice at your fingertips, but the fact of the matter is that somebody pays for that. And when we are when there's enough food produced in the world to feed the world 6 times over, that's stats aren't my thing, but there's enough produced in the world to feed everybody. But our lifestyle of choice. On the other hand, the other end of it in the third world is a lifestyle of survival. There's no choice, there's no anything, but we can choose 6 different Doritos if we want. It just, I was trying to hit on these kind of things. It's like we're wholesalely opening the waterways to companies to destroy a precious resource such as water, just so we can mine some mineral to make a cell phone with, or I guess it's more Africa, but we're mining zinc or whatever you want to say, but at the expense of our children and their futures. And we're trading in physical capital for something that's made up on a ledger sheet. So it's just kind of like it's almost like, in my mind, it was written in the sense like the 4 guys on the Titanic, when the Titanic was sinking, and the string quartet got up and played the music to Die in a Sinking Ship by, and that's what I kind of felt like. It's very frustrating, like, again, I get very frustrated with things, because not that I have the answers by any means, but and it comes back to, thank God we live in this free country where there's freedom of choice, and we can do whatever the hell we want, because we're free, and we don't owe servitude or service to anything or anyone besides ourselves, and maybe those that are close to us, and the family unit or whatever. But we don't. I don't think we think about our society as a being in itself. We don't think about that. I think we're thinking about what's going to please us. I'm going to have Chinese food after the bar tonight, and I'm going to go buy a Xbox game tomorrow, and this kind of stuff. I like playing Xbox, don't get me wrong, but it's just like we're being crushed by choice, and we're being smothered with it, I should say. And the other hand, the people who are dying in the streets in, we'll say, Syria, for democratic choice, are suffering, and we just don't care. about our own democratic process, and the song is supposed to address that. Now, when we played it live the first time ever, I'm singing do all these sarcastic lines and get to the hook, right? And thank God I live in a free country. And you hear this guy in the crowd, he's like, yeah, and he's just like, dude, this isn't a Toby Keith song, like, you know, like this is the exact opposite in my mind. But then it started turning the cranks, and I started thinking, oh my God, you know, you know, not that there's even enough people to care out there, but you know, we're not the, you know, a big band or anything, but you know, your message is, and at least in my mind, the message that we're putting out is very important. And it just, you know, it's almost like, so when it came to this Rexton thing, this was all going down. It was just like, it sickened me. Like, I don't know anything about fracking. I'm not going to sit here and say I know the ins and outs and the science behind fracking, but I do know that there are two very well-argued cases for or against fracking. Mm-hmm. And on the negative side, when you present that much evidence for anything, you know, you got to think, okay, there's some solid science behind this, you know. And here we are just wholesaling saying, yeah, we're just forcing it through because shareholders need to make money, and you know, we're not thinking about, you know, the consequences or anything, you know. And we're and in that sense, we're not respecting democracy. Like, this is a serious issue. I mean, if it divides people this much, this is something that should be a referendum, not something that a politician can just kind of sweep under the carpet and take a bribe on, or, you know, whatever. It's not democratic at all. And we're supposed to be an open society. And I saw these people in Rexton, and the irony of it was that here were people we subjugated 200 years ago, whether they know it or not, fighting for the very institutions that we're so proud of, and we're just kind of like, whatever, you know, damn tree-hugging hippies, or, you know, what do you want to say, complaining natives, or, you know, da-da-da-da-da, and it's just like, that's not true at all, you know. Like, these people were, you know, standing up for us, and I just felt like we got to share this song. We didn't even plan on sharing it, but it was just like, I called our manager, and I was like, you know what, I feel like this is something we got to do. You know, it's 2 cents in the whole movement, the whole equation. I wasn't ready to go out and charge the hard line, you know, or anything like that. I'm not very aggressive that way, but I guess it was our kind of way of showing some solidarity, in the very least, you know.
That's, from my perspective, it's really good to hear a band that I respect bringing, you know, these issues to the table, even if it's, you know, offhanded or whatever, or sarcastic in satire, whatever you want to put it.
Total satire,
yeah.
You know, total satire.
So a quote that's on Stanfields.ca is, "As songwriters, we always have an axe to grind in terms of lyrical expression." And this is in reference, I believe, to the new album and the new writing. Would you care to elaborate for the listeners on this statement?
You know, for myself, as somebody who leans towards you know, topical matters, or, you know, whether it's current or historical, or, you know, I feel it's very important to me to be able to put my views forth. I think even a songwriter who writes more in the emotional bent, you know, somebody who, you know, who writes about love or writes about, you know, emotional things is also has an axe to grind. You know, I think there's an agenda. You know, there's always an agenda. Even if it's like the most obscure kind of Nirvana song, when you're talking about nests of salt and things like this, you know, with Cobain, like that's you know, you might look at you know, a Nirvana song and you might not understand, you know, the reasoning or the logic behind, you know, why Kurt Cobain wrote what he did, but in his mind, I can almost guarantee you there's you know, there's an emotion, or there's a cumulative kind of emotion from his experiences. You know, I'm thinking about, you know, I'm a big Nirvana fan, of course, but you know, thinking about, like, you know, his childhood, or, you know, whatever it is, and just, you know, maybe in this case, you know, his agenda would be to, you know, write music that people can relate to, but they don't know why, even, you know, without having to resort to a list of facts and so on. So, and that's the beauty of music. I just think that you know, in my case, like, I come from a very folk tradition. You know, a lot of my favorite singers or commentators, whether they wanted to or not, you know, Prine or Springsteen or whatever, ranging from humor to, you know, the very serious. So yeah, I that being said, you know, I even the people who are working in the Nashville pop machine, I'm sure, are, you know, have an agenda of some sort. And I just think that maybe in select dance club music, you know, R&B or whatever, maybe the agenda's making money, but, you know, it's all within that realm. I think it's a fair assessment.
Let's not touch any subjects. Let's just sell records.
Mm-hmm.
I find that's what pop media is really all about.
Yeah.
So, is there anything tongue-in-cheek on this album?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, Free Country, for example, is total.
And that's on the album.
Free Country, yes, is on for King Country. Yeah. Other than that, no. The record itself is very broad. I mean, it's easy for an artist to look at their album and go, oh yeah, it's definitely a concept, or, you know, it's easy for an artist to find the threads of their own music between song and song because they know it so intimately. But, you know, on the outside, it's a whole different kettle of fish, I think. But yeah, Free Country definitely was a tongue-in-cheek sort of song.
So Death and Taxes is, well, you just did the European release in Europe. How was the trip? Because last time you're talking, did you end up running into Jürgen again?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah. Jürgen, for those who don't know, Jürgen Shatner is our label rep in Germany, Rookie Records. Fabulous. He and his wife and their crew. They're a fabulous bunch of people, you know. He's a gem, you know. This time we really got to experience more of you know, German culture, and like last time we were there, it was for 2 festivals over 4 days, and we're mostly on the road, and, you know, it's just you know, hotels and you know, it didn't seem like it was any different than here. But this time, you know, like we toured, and we were in Berlin, we were in Wiesbaden, we were in Cologne, and we went to these different after hours clubs to, you know, sample the local beer and, you know, eat a lot of sausage, you know, things like this. One show that really struck me was this little town, probably, I think there was 2,000 people in it. The town was called Schrobenhausen, and it was, I don't know, it was like being in Alliston, Ontario or something, you know, some small town. And just to experience that just on that level, you know, rather than, you know, being swept away by Cologne or Berlin, you know, it's just like, okay, this is what country people live like in Germany, you know, or in Bavaria in this case. So it was really interesting to see how much people are the same. You know, we stayed in this bed and breakfast with this sweet old lady named Ursula, and she was like a grandmotherly type figure, and, you know, making sure we had breakfast and, you know, things like this, and playing at a youth center. And the youth center sold beer. That's odd. The youth center had a butt tray outside the size of a car tire, you know, and there's just like kids blowing around in Vespas and stuff like this. Is like, I'm like, you would never get away with this back home, you know. This would never fly, you know. But there it is, you know. It's I took that as a testament to, you know, people being able to police themselves. You know, we have so many rules, you know, as an open society that we claim that we are, but in Nova Scotia, at least, you can't smoke on the deck of a bar, like we're sitting on the deck behind Jimmy Jazz and we're having a cigarette. But in Nova Scotia, and I'm sure it's going to happen here soon too.
Oh, it will. Yeah, you know, they've already started.
Don't be smoking there, but you can smoke over here 10 feet away, and this kind of stuff. Nobody should smoke anyway, but that's still not the point. You know, or it's like, you know, you can take your family to a pub there, right? And it's like there's enough sense that the government knows that, you know, people aren't going to get their 8-year-old drunk. You know, like, people can police themselves, but, you know, we don't seem to believe that here for whatever reason, and I find that too bad, you know, as far as the difference. You know, it was a great trip. I made a lot of friends, played lots of great shows. It was, you know, played some great bands over there, man. Like, a band called Diving for Sunken Treasure. They were particularly, this guy in this band, Diving for Sunken Treasure, were in Berlin, and and I'm watching them play. Or I just walked in, they just got 3 songs their set. I came from the green room to watch the set, and I see the singer laid out on the stage is probably, let's say 2.5, 3 feet off the deck and off the floor. And I see the singer laying on the floor in front of the stage, and everybody's gathered around him. I'm like, okay, what is this, like a gag or something? Anyway, it turns out that he tripped over the monitor and fell off the stage. So he's just like holding his arm. He's like, he's just in pain. I'm watching this, and he finishes the set, and he goes upstairs, and we're talking to him, and he's still just wincing. They played awesome too, and we spent a few hours with the guys, and got a picture from him the next day over Facebook or something. There he was in a cast up to his shoulder. He had shattered like some of the bones in his arm and some of his ribs, and he still played the show. And I was just like, props to you, man. Like, that's a rock and roll story, like, totally cool guys.
Well, that's a very interesting story.
Very weird, see some strange stuff.
So another thing on the Stanfields.ca. Oh, and while you're at it, go and like the Underplayed and Underpaid Facebook page.
Yeah, just do it.
Click a like on that. You mentioned that John Prine, Tommy Emmanuel, Planksty, Ricky Skaggs, and Neil Young are influential to the band.
Sure.
But who from the east coast of Canada has been influential to you guys? Well, I guess you can only speak for yourself.
East Coast, I'm been chewing on that for the last couple of seconds, and as kids, I'm going to speak for myself in particular, but as young men, it was, our like of music was almost reactionary to, traditional East Coast music, like, or who you define as East Coast, like Ron Hines or Marina McNeil, we'll say, or the Rankin Family, or this kind of thing. Like, we were just like, keep me away from that stuff. That's not. So, in a sense, like, we grew up like anybody else, listening to rock and roll records and things like that. And it's like, it was this whole ethos of like, they don't understand. They're just a big mafia. They don't understand us. They don't. It was very reactionary. I remember, though, as I got, I turned about 22. I'd always grown up listening to, music from the outside. It was always music from the outside. But I always heard Jon Prine growing up, and Neil Young and this kind of stuff. And that was always my go-to thing, like a lot of blues and like all kinds of stuff, but just not Nova Scotian music or East Coast music at all. But you would hear this. You would hear jigs and reels and stuff every street fair or every family events, family gatherings and stuff. There'd always be Hank Williams or whatever it is. But as I got older, my uncle Steve, who was Jason Wright, our Bouzouki player's father, he wrote a folk record called Life Around the Bay, and it talked about Chattabucto Bay, where I was born and Jason was born, and just stories from this area. And and I remember seeing him perform, and I was probably 21, 22, and he played the song called Skipper Jim, and it was a story about a young man who following his dreams of owning a sailing ship and being a merchantman or something, right? And sailing to the West Indies and things like this to trade rum and molasses
and sugar
and this kind of stuff. And the story ends up that he leaves a wife at home and he ends up dying at sea, and his wife walks the widow's walk on top of the house, but that he managed to procure for her and his family, and the expense was the death, right? And that I remember, like, I still remember it. Like, and there's this temporary tent at a folk festival back home, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And it was from about there that I started really developing a taste for it. That it started making sense to me what it was that drove me as an aspiring musician. So now it's been, I've discovered along the way great singers and songwriters from home, like say Dave Gunning, or of course Ron Hines, who was in a band called the Wonderful Grand Band. They were like nuts. They were like the New York Dolls of Newfoundland. It was crazy, man. It was just like all this stuff that escaped me. And so for me now, it's almost like I'm in the last 5 years playing the Stanfields have really coming into rediscovering what it is to be an East Coast musician, or who was there before me, you know. And so it's like a slow trip of enlightenment for sure.
Well, tell the listeners a little bit about some of the bands that you're performing with this evening. Pioneer Video and the Town Heroes. And, of course, we all know the Barrett's Privates already. But, can you tell the listeners a little bit about those two bands?
Oh, Town Heroes and Pioneer Video are two, good old boys from Cape Breton, on the right side of the island, the west side. Mm-hmm. No offense to the east side. I really like it on the west side of the island. Great alternative rock. Very down to earth. Very lots of heart. We've been touring with Town Heroes. We've toured with them quite a bit over the last couple of years.
6 months ago, right?
Yes, actually, that's right. And I really admire Mike Ryan's a singer. I really and guitar player. They're a two-piece band.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not like it's nowhere near like a White Stripes, Black Keys kind of thing. It's more of an alternative band. I really admire their songwriting, especially Mike. I think he has a real gift for. He and I think, come from the same kind of area, but I think Mike's real strength is being a little more ambiguous about it and using it's like what his lyrics are more almost like imagery, rather than. Like myself, I'm just like spouting off like an idiot. I really enjoy their music a lot. Like they're probably my favorite band from out home.
Oh, cool. I'm glad that you get the opportunity to tour with them.
Oh yeah, and I get to watch this guy play every night. We've been doing acoustic shows, and I get to see him sit there and really slow down his music, and instead of being more a rock thing, and turns into like listening. If you close your eyes, it's like Neil Young, except. A good singer,
Yeah.
It's just like it freaks me out, and I've just been enjoying it. I've been learning a lot from it too. So I love playing with these guys, and we all do. Like we're all pretty tight, and, shoot off to each other, and just like bros, bros, man.
Yeah.
Total bros.
Deece, bro.
Mm.
What video will you be doing next off of this new album for King and Country?
That's a good question. I don't know. Do you have any ideas?
Well, how about the first one?
We didn't. The whole album was, there was no real logic behind it. Just other than the fact that we wanted to do it. When we did Death and Taxes, it was a real concerted effort to play the system by the rules and release a single and have a video and the whole bit. But this one was just like, we're just making music for sake of music, whether like. We put out the record and we're just kind of like, are we going to do a video, or are we going to, I don't know. I the more I look at it, it's like, what kind of video would it be? Is it something that we're going to sit there and lip sync for what, YouTube? Like much music's non-existent to us, so what's the point? Like it's almost better for us to, I'd like, what I'd like to do? I'd like to do like live recordings with video at different locations for each song. Something that's kind of something that can be done fairly inexpensively, and it's something that's got a little more spontaneity to it. It's not so, it's something that shows the band doing what we really like to do is play. And rather than working out some kind of long script. That's what our videos have been like. This giant saga of imagery and like it's just for better or for worse, and I'd like to try to do something different in that respect, and bring it more about the music, just an interesting setting, maybe a grocery store.
That'd be interesting.
Anything.
Well, you came into Guelph and you did something with Pinball Sessions. Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about that experience?
Well, it was fun. We had a hard time finding the place. First of all, because Grange Street, as it turns out, is did I say that right? Grange.
Grange.
Grange. Okay, let's say Grange.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
He goes up and all of a sudden there's a concrete wall, and we're like, well, there's no 98 in this, there's only two houses here, but we managed to figure it out. We got to the top of the hill. By the way, we should petition the city of Guelph to rename the lower part Lower Grange.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Let's call it Lower Grange from now on. The whole session was cool. We walked in and it was just like this old convenience store. And walked in this nice little performance room, and Dan had I didn't catch his last name. Anyway, he had a nice setup in there, so we just did our thing, sat in a circle and cut a few tracks and shook hands and had a few laughs, and away we went. It was really cool. It's a cool concept too. So
any video done of it?
No, there's no video. I was thinking there was, but that's just the way cookie crumbles.
Have you seen the video called "Talking with the Department Head"? It's the department head of Much Music, and it's this girl. She's like, I remember back in the day, I used to go hang out with my girlfriends. We'd have sleepovers and we'd watch, music videos and have a great time. How come you guys don't play music videos anymore? And the department head just tears her up. Anyways, it's really good. Maybe I'll send that to you on the Facebook.
I would like that one.
Yeah. What might be your direction on your next album, if you could speculate? More of the same?
There's not a lot of speculation. I mean, we probably have 10 songs right now that we're various degrees of our research and development wing is very busy always. I think it's going to be an amalgam of this recent record, FCAC, and our past work. We're trying to get away from this kind of box pattern, verse chorus verse kind of Irish instrumental middle eight kind of stuff, and get more into I really admire Led Zeppelin. Later on they get a little crazier, and it's I think we're going to try to borrow page from that.
Borrow page from page.
Borrow page from page, exactly. Like we're working on a little more syncopated rhythms and I won't say strange time signatures like we're Sting or something, but just something a little more off the wall. And I think it's going to be. I'm really excited about it because we've done some rough demos for a few, and when I say rough demos, I mean USB mic in the middle of a garage, but still, it's just getting the nucleus of it down. It's stuff that's very challenging and stuff that we can't play drunk, So,
which reminds me, Anacreon in Heaven. Are you familiar with that? It's actually it's an old British drinking song.
Okay,
and it basically, if you couldn't sing the song, then you were too drunk and you couldn't get served any more beer.
Wow.
Which became the American national anthem. I'm not joking. I'll send you a link.
Okay.
And it's the exact same. It's really crazy. Listeners at home, check out a documentary called "How Beer Saved the World." I think it's that one.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
I've seen that, and they paid the guys who built the pyramid in beer.
Yeah, and all that's pretty interesting.
Yes. I don't remember that part though, obviously.
So those guys were actually giving their kids beer.
I may have been gone up to the fridge for a beer at that point.
Well, at this point of your career, what advice could you give young musicians? And everybody says, keep practicing. Is that what you would suggest, or is there anything else?
Keep learning.
Yeah.
Keep learning. You know what? If people wanted perfection in music, they would listen to crunk or something, or dubstep, or something that's very mechanical and precise, or they'd listen to Dream Theater, for the rest of us, or jazz. It's to me, what was always important with us was, even if we played something that might have been a little bit rough, as long as we play it with heart, play with heart, because number one, you don't know who's in that room who can give you a boost along the way, rather than if you just walk into a gig and you mail it in. You're not doing yourself any favors. You're not learning anything personally, and you're not helping yourself out. Second of all, try to learn something out of every gig that you have. And you'd be surprised what you can end up learning about yourself and this racket in all along the way. And don't get down. Because it's too easy. It's too easy to quit because there's so many obstacles put in front of you. From just trying to make rent to, trying to be relevant. It's there's a market for you somewhere. People are going to like what you do somewhere. So don't be disheartened either.
That's very good. So I hope the young musicians out there take that to heart. Now, I asked you this last interview. I don't know if it was cut off or whatever, but any more thought on doing a song about Oak Island?
Yeah. Just, you know what? This thing is coming together slowly because I don't want to spill the beans too much. As I don't want to say things I can't follow through on. But I've been thinking about it quite a bit, and I think this is going to be a long project. We recently, I will say this much, we recently had the honor of playing with a group out of Halifax called the Rhapsody Quintet, and it was a string trio, violin and contrabass and cello, clarinet and piano. And they joined us for a performance of our song Up the Mountain off our new record, and we rehearsed with them at soundcheck, and it was like hairs raised on my arms, you know, and we were both groups were really excited about it, and we became best of buddies really by the end of it, and of course your voice echoed in my head about Oak Island, and I thought, well, here we go, you know. So I'm just, you know, it's not so much about, you know, sitting down and rolling my sleeves up and getting to work on it because there are other fish to fry, but it's about making sure that the proper pieces are in place to do something that's unique, especially to, you know, our catalog. So I'm still sussing out the options, but I'm really it's really coming to the fore more and more as these opportunities, such as playing with a string quintet, present themselves, you know. So it's like I don't just want to do, and you know, I think that the whole process of doing for King and Country, it plays a large role in that. You know, on this record, Craig, our bass player, plays mandolin. There's no bass, there's no drums, there's percussion, but you know, it's very important, I think, you know, to tell the Oak Island story, to have a good grasp on a little more of the traditional side of the music that we do. So it's just kind of it's like leveling up in Dungeons and Dragons, you know, kind of thing. So, you know, stay tuned.
Nice. All right, well, let's get a little bit more political for fun. Thoughts on Rob Ford? Because last time when we did this interview, we were talking about Robert Stanfield and how he dropped the ball. And that became, in itself, a meme. You know, he dropped the ball here, but Rob Ford held on to the ball, but he fell. So he dropped himself. Mm-hmm. And that was, there's a GIF that I'm sure you've seen the GIF of him hike, and then he falls right over.
Yeah.
Everybody's seen that. While everybody's watching Rob Ford, all these other things are going on in the country. Like Stephen Harper was at the Leafs game and promoting a book that he wrote on hockey.
What?
What? Exactly. That's when I saw it, I was beside myself. Not talking about anything political, you know, and like, for example, in reference to the Rexton, New Brunswick write-up that you did in the song, Free Country, in BC and Alberta, the premiers just started pushing this thing for the Enbridge pipeline. Right? Well, they signed an okay on it. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but all this stuff silently happens behind the curtain.
Yeah.
While
the
watching,
masses are watching the gladiators in the arena,
or the Chris Farley show.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't think that there's somebody who's got their finger in all the buttons. That's for sure. But you know, there's definitely a culture of opportunism out there, and PR people going, "Oh, this is a perfect time to pull the trigger on Enbridge," or you know, Stephen Harper's hockey book of all things. I think that tells me a story itself. It's like he's getting ready to get trounced, or get you know, this whole Mike Duffy, Pamela Wallen thing just kind of went away, didn't it? Didn't it? You know, that just kind of went away. Rob Ford's probably the most famous man in the world right now. I look at him like I look at George Bush as like this total freaking idiot. You know, he's just a moron who has the keys to the kingdom. But on the other hand, I'll tell you right now, I'd rather have a beer with George W. Bush than I would with Barack Obama, even though I'd rather have Barack Obama run the country, you know, because he seems like more of a fun guy. Rob Ford, on the other hand, he comes off totally ignoramus. But he says things that are just, that make people just, I can't believe a politician just said that, like that whole conolingus thing.
Yeah.
You know, like,
enough to eat at home, right?
You know, exactly. And I'm just like, I'm taken aback by it. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. But like at the same time, it's like, obviously he didn't just get there on a lark. You know, where he got is, you know, somebody there's a whole army of people out there who are applauding the fact that he said that, even in the manner that he said it. They're like, you know, Joe Sixpacks are you know, they're like, I can't believe he stuck it to those tree hugging friggin' socialists. You know, even if they know the word socialist or not, I don't know. You can know what it means, but you know, still is like those snooty people that don't understand what it is that I do. At least that's a little bit closer. So I mean, it's just, you know, I would, if it were me, you know, I wouldn't want Rob Ford representing my city. That's for sure. But you know, at the same time, it's like, it's almost like somebody said it. I got thinking about it. It's like what he's doing now is like when George Costanza tried to get fired from the Yankees, you know, or he just did everything wrong. He's just like, oh, whatever. Now I'm just gonna say whatever I want. He was just picture him sitting in council hall, his arms wide open, like he's just like the gall of the man. You almost have to applaud it because he's just like, oh, I'm just gonna go with it the other way. I guess I'm gonna go hard in the other direction. It's just like weird man.
All right, I guess we'll just one last thing. Justin Trudeau.
Justin Trudeau.
Well, the Stanfield thing and his father. You know that.
Yeah.
It's actually closely tied to Underplayed and Underpaid because we interviewed Willie Greenway, which we talked about last interview. Would you support Justin Trudeau?
I'm going to reserve judgment on that. He seems to be doing a charm offensive in my book, which, you know, if you're looking, I'm no strategist by any means. I don't want to sound like I know what I'm talking about, but if it were me and I was trying to take on the conservative apparatus, you know, the Harpers of the world and the old reformers and whatnot, you know, I would be definitely playing the Trudeau card and playing it well, you know, telling guys off in Parliament, and you know, he's a likable guy. Like, what's not to like him? You know, he's like, you know, Justin Trudeau, George Stroumboulopoulos. You know, these kind of people, well-rounded, moderate, you know, sensible people. I'd like to see some more hard ideas, you know, more concrete ideas, and you know, and that sort of thing. I don't want to be dazzled, you know, and I think there's a lot of people out there that don't want to be dazzled, but I think there's a lot of people out there who want him to be the savior, you know. He's like a goddamn Kennedy, man. Like, you know, it's like a Kennedy running. Like, nobody stands a chance against him anyway. But I hope that it's for the right reasons. So, you know, he seems to be a nice man. You know, that's a good start. He's not a android, you know, like Harper, you know, like that guy's an android. He makes, you know, it's too, in terms of Harper, you know, he's just like, he's too extreme. He's hateful, man. He just comes off as a hateful man. You know, our front of house guy Jared actually is Stephen Harper's front of house guy. Did you know that?
No, really?
Yeah, he flies on the plane with Stephen Harper when they're campaigning.
Oh, wow.
I was trying to get him over here, but he was busy because he'd have some anecdote to share, I'm sure. But Jared's a smart guy.
He had to keep his position. He probably wouldn't, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, he was like, for example, you know, Stephen Harper carries a bottle of hot sauce in his briefcase.
No.
You know, just this kind of stuff.
That'd be interesting to hear.
Yeah, you know, just like just interesting stuff like that. But you know, he's just an android. You know, I think that's why Nadia failed too, because he was just he's an academic. You know. So was Harper. Ideology aside, they were just both very dry, very, you know, very dry. Stefan Dion, you know, brilliant. All brilliant people are in their own right in some way or another. But you know, now we've got the son of, you know, we've got a rock star in our hands now. You know, and I just hope that it doesn't play that way. Right. That's just all I have to say about that.
Well, thank you very much, Jon Landry.
My pleasure.
This has been a fun interview for Underplayed and Underpaid. I've been Brian McNeil, and as the Jimmy Jazz patio is starting to fill up and get loud, I'm glad that we can conclude. I can't wait to see the show. Awesome. Can't wait to catch the new album for King and Country. And yeah, make sure that you check it out online. Check out the Stanfields.ca. Make sure you like the Underplayed and Underpaid Facebook page.
Do it.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Nobody's called in to win some tickets on Underplayed and Underpaid. So I got 2 tickets here for Courage My Love, and also 2 tickets, which is Wednesday, 2 tickets for Mandroid Echo Star Citadel's EP release party at the E-Bar on Friday. Why don't you give me a call? That way, if you call me, then I can play a Stanfields song off the new album for King and Country. Is that a call? Do we have a caller? I don't... Oh, false alarm. False alarm. All right, well, here's what's going on at musiclives.ca, and you can still call it 519-837-2378 and win 2 pairs of 2 tickets. So yeah, 519-837-2378. Tonight, Dave, open stage with Dave Huber is at Doogie's in Guelph, and Paul McLeod is not going to be at the Jimmy Jazz tonight, I've been informed. On the 19th, Maddie P is at Doogie's in Guelph. On the 20th, Danielle Todd is at 39 Carden Street. That's her weekly residency. Also, Jake Bastido is at Red Brick Cafe, and Gain Music hosts Courage My Love and Crystalline at Van Gogh's Ear. Call me now. You get 2 tickets if you call me now. 519-837. We got a caller. All right. I think we got a caller. Well, it rang briefly. 519-837-2378. Oh, somebody's playing a trick on me. All right, well, I'll just continue here. Musiclives.ca. Musiclives hosts Name That Tune at Jimmy Jazz. I'm just going to check the phone. Nobody. Okay. Thursday, the 21st. Kazoo hosts Kazoo number 172, Lido Pimienta and Shy Wisdom LAL. Fundraiser to support migrant strike at the Red Papaya. Also, open mic at ANAF Club, and Fortnite Music hosts the Strumbellas, the Bell Comedians, and Boats, and Crowtown at the E-Bar. Also on Thursday, Mike Something at Doogie's in Guelph. I've been trying to get an interview with Mike Something. Anyway, Pinball Sessions hosts the Matinee Residency at Van Gogh's Ear, and that's all happening on Thursday, the 21st of November. The 22nd Friday, Gain Music hosts Mandroid Echo Star with Searching for Satellites and Unbowed at the E-Bar. I got tickets for that too. Why don't you call me? 519-837-2378, 519-837-CFRU. And I'll be happy to just give you a pair of tickets to 2 upcoming Gain Music shows. Also, The Folk and the Beams, and Seraphic Lights, and Pennyweb Portal, all at the ANAF Club on Friday. And Scrambled Legs at Doogie's in Guelph. Lumberjunk is at the Jimmy Jazz. Make sure you check that out, because those guys are fantastic. And Pinball Sessions hosts Little Miss Higgins and the Winnipeg 5 at Van Gogh's Ear. Saturday the 23rd, Gain Music hosts Fitness Club Fiasco with Paint and the Electric Environment at the ANAF Club. Also, Romeo Sex Fighters at Doogie's in Guelph. They're amazing. Make sure you check those guys out. Reggae Massive hosts Foundation Steppers, and House of David Gang at Van Gogh's Ear. And Kazoo presents TBA with at the Jimmy Jazz. So I guess that's just a Kazoo show. And also on the Saturday, the 23rd, Sean Bray's Peach at Sean Bray's Peach Trio at Manhattan's. Apologize. And Sunday, Double D Sundays with D and Dave at Doogie's in Guelph, and Fortnite Music hosts Dan Griffin and the Regrets with Donovan Woods and Gordon Ald at E-Bar, and Nathan Coles hosts Open Stage at the Jimmy Jazz. And a tree just fell on his car last night, so that's pretty crazy. But still nobody's called in. I'm just going to drop a song, and 837-2378. Why don't you give me a call? Here's Whistle and Grin off of the new album for Kings and Country by the Stanfields. Brand new album. Check it out.
I'm what you'd call a betting man, and I live from pay to pay. I'm a hot card stud, a mongrel blood, and a 0 on the day. No, I'm no sage, nor soothsayer, nor arbiter of truth. I'm high in risk, I'm low in temper, and long in the tooth. And I'm long in the tooth. And I'm wide awake on the losing end of it. I better check my pride, take it on the chin. With a whistle and a grin, with a whistle and a grin. Surefire tell was barking at my tree. I couldn't take her money, she was making as of me. Oh, so fine with a low neckline, reckless, fast and loose. She giggled as she drew me in and tightened up the noose. Yeah, she tightened up the noose. Now I'm wide awake on the news and the end of it. I better check my pride, take it on the chin with a whistle and kitchen sink. The painted up bamboozler left me staring in my drink. To plumb the depths inside my head.
We have a winner. Clyde Marshall from Cambridge or Kitchener has called in and won tickets to both of the shows on Wednesday and Friday. So congratulations, Clyde. And I'm going to get a hold of you after the show. Thanks again for calling in. Thanks to everybody for listening. And, well, that's it for my show. Stay tuned for Blues Around the Block. Yeah, and, yeah, I'll see you next week.